Scruffy Audio Network.
Hey, happy Friday morning here. In the wood gym, Dr. James Choo is in the house. We're doing another series. We were thinking about what to name this one. Since we did Lost Generation Part 6, and this is our first episode for 2020, we really did, I thought, a bang-up job with the 6-part series, and you were a superstar in it. You know, you are the Harrison Smith of the podcast with me, so I appreciate that. We followed up, and we finished with part 6 of where everybody was and you know, moving and shifting weight, and we talked a lot about like cycles of nutrition and wellness and sleep. And then I think 2020 we were coming out, we're going to do one once a month for the year, and we got a couple more sponsors, and one is Brown Bag, and H2O's picked back up, and we're looking at I think Fit Aid is another one. So congratulations to everybody in this wood gym. I appreciate it. Thank you. So we're talking about sleep today, and Dr. James Choo is an advocate of sleep, and more sleep. And then before we got on air, we talked about a couple things of the athletes that live in my house and what they always want to get done. So don't forget about that. We could bring that in. So everybody, introducing Dr. James Choo is our sleep guru for today.
just for the day. I think when we were talking about all of the issues of wellness, I think in one podcast I mentioned a researcher. His name was Matthew Walker out of Berkeley. And having listened to some of his work and actually reading one of his New York Times bestselling books, Why We Sleep, is revolutionary in the way that I think about health now. Based off of probably 60 years of plus years of research, and in particular the past 20 years with a lot of sleep research, neuroscientific work that's been, if for the people that are out there that know, if we're talking to the popular audience, neuroscience in the past 20 years has really exploded. The brain, in particular, how we understand it with imaging studies and all that, since the late 1990s, early 2000s, has changed the way we understand the mind in and of itself, and in particular the brain. This researcher, Dr. Walker, I think he actually got some of his first starts at Harvard, and then has really taken off with his work. I mean, he really illustrates from the anatomical level in the brain to all throughout society why we need to be sleeping more, and how it's a huge epidemic, the lack of sleep, especially in industrialized countries. And it's costing us a lot, in particular our healths and our lives. So if you want to reference someone, you should listen to some of his works and or read his books. I will say this. I am not a sleep physician. So if for those...
The TV is on.
the TV's on. So I will say this, that as far as medical advice for sleep, there are sleep experts that are out there, believe it or not, who are board certified in sleep medicine. And if you want to find help for your sleep, you need to look at the National Sleep Foundation. They've got a website that will tell you kind of who is in your neck of the woods a sleep expert. But there is a board certification. What that means is there are sleep specialists out there. I am not one. So if you need medical help for your sleep, you should engage in one. And I think the National Sleep Foundation is probably a good resource for all. So really, in the end, though, when it boils down to it, if we look at sleep in this country, there's a lot of reasons why we don't sleep enough. I think there's a lot of cultural issues with sleep. You know, I think we pound on our chest saying, "Hey, how many times do you hear this, Charlie? Like, hey, I'm running on 4 hours, man. I'm just working really hard, and And it's almost a badge of honor for the type A personalities that are out there to say how hard they can get by with a lack of sleep.
Guilty.
In the medical field is horrible when it comes to this. Actually, they train their physicians and their caretakers on lack of sleep. And it's really interesting. Matthew Walker talks about this in particular in his book, where that came from. And we won't have to talk about that right now. But in my field, lack of sleep was something that we prided ourselves on. Hey, I worked past 36 hours or 24 hours or whatever it is, and felt proud that you worked 100+ hours as a resident in a week and all that kind of stuff. I think same thing in probably the business world, right? That there is a lot of pride in burning it on both ends. And really, in the end, as you and I have learned, it should be the exact opposite. We should be talking about how, man, I got to bed early, slept my 8 hours, and really I'm at the top of my game when I do that. And there are a lot of reasons why. We could talk a little bit about that. But, I mean, my understanding of the importance of sleep, and we'll talk a little bit about why, has fundamentally changed as a result of this information on not only your health, but your performance, the longevity of your life, how we should be sleeping, all of those factors, that it's even changed the way I think about health for myself, my family, with my kids, the stages of sleep that they need throughout their lives, and how I'll do my best to safeguard that as they're growing up and developing, for my patients. And then also, Chaz, it's changed the way that you've thought about your business.
Well, that's funny that you talked about the grind and pounding on your chest, because I just listened to another doctor on the podcast shows with sleep doing another walk. Excuse me. And they said exactly like you were saying. We are in a sleep deficit epidemic of pounding your chest, of owning, I only go on 4 hours of sleep. I've been doing that for years, and it's actually, put me at the Cleveland Clinic because of owning, I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's the cousin's death of sleep. And that's all we've heard is grinders, and we're trying to get away from that. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So you're talking about, you're creating a new habit for people that don't sleep or don't sleep well. Mm-hmm. So you're trying to get into, like you said, of it's okay to sleep because we don't value that sleep. And then we talk about, like you were talking about off air in one of our production meetings about this podcast, is the athletes. I have a great athlete of mine in the office now, Cam Miller, who plays at the University of Tennessee. He's like a son to me. I have him since high school. He's sitting in getting ready for his second workout. He already trained at 6 a.m. and then coming in with the combine guys at 9. The importance of sleep. And with Cam, it's one of those things that athletes don't value or don't see the necessity compared to cryotherapy, deep tissue massage, stretching, rolfing, acupuncture, where the doctor said, and you agreed after reading that book, that's all a waste if you're not getting your sleep.
Oh, it doesn't do anything. It's like, so we had earlier in another podcast talk about your notions on the pillars of health and well-being. And I think it was like 3 pillars. We added another one. I think one was like rest and recovery was part of the pillar, eating, moving, and then maybe community, something to that effect. Okay, so after this researcher who had basically said that he thought there was a trinity of health, okay, and it was eating well, activity, and his third trinity was sleep. After his extensive work in sleep, he says that he has changed completely his notions on what it means to be healthy, and he believes that sleep is the foundation on which the other two stand on. And it's not a matter of that they're equal. If you do not sleep, your health will deteriorate faster if you get less sleep rather than eating poorly or not exercising. So it is critical because it is actually how you reset your immune system, how you reset your brain, how you reset your performance, your physical performance, how you reset the emotions that you have throughout the day, how you're able to properly assess your memories and be able to think more clearly. I mean, even your hormones. Okay, so if you are not sleeping well, your entire body is not able to perform well. So, to put it into perspective, when it comes to sleep, if you are sleeping, he looked at the data on who can survive and have wellness and longevity on less than 6 hours of sleep. And the number of people that can actually do that is close to zero. Zero. There is a outlier of some individuals that can have a genetic component that are they're more likely able to do well with less sleep. But we're talking about a very, very, very small percentage of people. So 6 hours or less will kill you. I'm talking about 99.99% of people on Earth.
Okay, let me stop you right there. So what I've heard and studied before this big trend that's happening that you brought to my attention, it's not the amount of hours we sleep, it's the quality of sleep. If you get 4 deep sleep, REM, whatever it is, you're good.
No. It is the actual, you should be getting no less than 7 hours of sleep, probably more on the scale of 8 hours of sleep. Our teenagers should probably be getting 9 hours of sleep. Really, in the end, it could very well be that those people that we are set up physically, so to speak, that we should be even taking a midday nap. So it turns out that those people who are sleeping 8 to 9 hours, taking a siesta in the middle of the day, they live much longer, they're much healthier, and that what they call the biphasic sleep, where you're sleeping at night and then you get a midday nap. There are some societies, maybe a small island in Greece, where people tend to sleep that way, and they're living well into their 90s and high functioning in their 90s. So they're able to still have their mental faculties in place and they're physically able and all that. Once they've started eliminating that in certain societies, that midday sleep for their jobs, maybe they've industrialized those areas, the risk for heart attacks and diabetes and a lot of other chronic illnesses that are very costly to society, they all went up. So it turns out that sleep is it turns out that we should maybe be sleeping in the middle of the day, a very short 15-minute nap, 7 to 9 hours at night at a minimum. And if you are missing out on your sleep, say you get a night of sleep where you're only getting about 5 hours or so, and you think that you can then turn around the next few days and make it up, all of the cognitive performances, even 3 days later, are deteriorated, even after you've gotten 7 to 9 hours after that short amount of sleep that you had earlier in the week. But if you think about all the people that you know, how many people are getting about 6 hours of sleep or less than 7 hours? It's a lot of people. Most people I know, and it turns out about 2/3 are getting less than 7 hours of sleep in America.
Well, the wood gym people are, that's the way we started this podcast over a year ago, is wood gym people are type A personalities. Mm-hmm. We wake up trying to get better, thinking about it, go to sleep, trying to get better, think about it. And one of the things that I would say now that we're at fault is I just did that workout and I got 5 hours sleep and I'm not sleeping. And so you're getting to a level of, you're really in a good circle talking the sleep, because we talked about, I think I came up with that model for you, the 7 and 9 principle sleep model. And then you backed it with some really high functional information of, wait, Chaz, I'm not saying 7, I'm saying 9, because I'm saying from 9 to 8, this happens. From 8 to 7, this happens. Go over those where you talk about the testosterone, estrogen levels.
Yeah. So
the injuries for athletes, the performance athlete, age,
yeah,
10 years.
If you're not
older. If you're not getting that sleep.
Well, basically, your testosterone levels drop. Your fertility drops as a man if you're getting less than 7 hours of sleep. So I mean, like we were talking. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. We could go on and on, but like your testosterone levels, everything drops. Everything has to do with sleep. So when we talk about, I need testosterone replacements, I need massages, I need this. You're saying not till sleep, and right.
We talked about that this week with an athlete staying with me that wanted a massage. He's getting ready for the combine, and it was Tuesday because his hips are sore. Again, we go back to what's his name? We listened to on Joe Rogan, Pavel Tsatsouline. Yeah, Pavel. When Pavel was talking about, you have to feel that soreness to understand what to do and embrace that, to where we are the Americans, which I've never gotten deep tissue massage in my life. I always want to feel what my body's telling me. So I don't want to mask that, where the athletes have been fed, get this recovery, this, and he doesn't believe in the recoveries. I mean, he's not going to say it's all whack, but I've listened to 2 or 3 scientists that are talking about, if you're not getting your sleep, those recovery methods
doesn't mean anything.
And
so Pavel said, yeah, these things do work, because he's a Russian, and came over here and kind of a kettlebell guru, is into strength, very sensible, I would think, no nonsense, especially when I've listened to him on his interviews. But one of the interview really, he gave his nods to some of the things that, as far as recovery, is like, saunas, they do work. He said, but I sleep 9 hours. Remember that? He said, I sleep 9 hours, and if I'm not doing any of those if I'm not sleeping, then none of those other things really matter at that point, and he's like, I don't want to be dependent on the massages and the cryo and the this and the that, because I feel like the sleep is the foundation. I think this researcher Matthew Walker would most definitely tell you that, and I think to explain to the general audience about this time of year for Charlie is that he's got some high performance athletes. They've got a lot on the line. The combine's coming up pretty soon. Charlie's doing his workouts is 2-3 days with these athletes. They're running and lifting and getting better, getting stronger. Some of these athletes are living with Charlie, and so that he can keep a very close eye on their performance and just, I think he sees a lot of the habits that are going on. I think after we've talked about sleep, it's changed the way that you say, all right, does this person really need that massage? Do they really need these things if he's not doing the basics and the foundations, which is sleep, right?
And then you talked about the performance level drops 30% without 7 to 9.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly on 9. You're stuck on that 9, okay? Injuries, 40% increased to 60% increase.
Yeah.
10 years older, we got that. Then go over the study that you told me in our production meeting about the cravings and choices that they did with people under 7 or under 9 to over 9 or 9.
There was an explanation in the book that talked about a study that looked at food and food choices that people would make when they were not sleeping very well. And so it also turns out that you have hormones in your body that dictate the foods that you want to eat. in particular one hormone called ghrelin. And when you don't sleep well at night, so you're getting that less than 7 hours, your ghrelin levels go up. So that means that you become hungrier. Not only that, but the emotional controls of the brain, so the impulsivity in your brain, there's certain centers that control that. They're a little less robust. So what that means is that you make more impulsive decisions. And so they've done studies where not only they give individuals who did not sleep very well a buffet of, it had salads, and then some of it had a variety of different foods, some high carb, high sugary foods, high fat foods as well, and then also you could eat your vegetables or fruits or whatever it is. And so without prompting, the people that did not sleep well automatically went over to the high fat foods, and so their food choices worsened as they got less sleep. So you're hungrier and you make worse food choices as a result of a lack of sleep. So it for so many reasons, if you're not sleeping, your ability to kind of fight off cravings and make better choices, not only in food settings, but just in life in general, as far as your impulsivity, your emotional control. But I mean, it goes into how you eat, the things that influence you for types of things that you want to eat, and it makes you hungrier, and your ability to shed the fat afterwards. I mean, there's so much that we need to be thinking about when it comes to sleep. You talked about type A personalities, and I think really that's in my mind kind of this cultural notion that being type A means that you want to do everything at the best and drive so hard that you'll do what it takes to and sacrifice so much in order to achieve your goals. Okay, what we need to in some ways redefine what type A means. Okay, it should probably mean you should be almost as competitive about how much sleep that you're getting, right? Like, and patting yourself on the back, like being type A as far as, man, I got my 8 hours in the same fashion that you would say, well, I came in here and did my 2 days, probably even more important than your 2 days, in a lot of ways. It's really, I got my 8 hours in so I could do my 2 days, and that is a redefining the terms of what it means to be type A. Versus, hey, I can push through at the behest of my own well-being. That doesn't make good sense for being a type A person, right? It makes more sense to say, man, I'm ticking off all the right things so I can be the best, because that's what you want to be as a type A person. And sleep should be one of those things that I'm like, dude, I'm going in, I'm sleeping in, I'm going in early tonight, I'm getting into bed, I'm falling asleep, I'm getting my 9 hours and 8 hours, and that's your definition of badass type A, right?
Well, yes, and gosh, I think it's such a hard struggle. It's a push and a pull, because you think sleeping a lot is lazy. Right. That's a lazy person if he's sleeping a lot. I mean, that's how I was always viewed,
right.
Raised by a Marine of,
right.
You're up at so early and then work the golf course from 13 years of age up. I love the mornings, but I was just thinking, I'm like, well, let's see, I went to bed at 11 last night, woke up 4:31. Oh, I'm dragging,
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring this point, and then I want to circle back around to how I'm even combine training is different this year because
you need to talk about
you.
That. That's awesome.
Of you,
mm-hmm.
of Dr. James Choo. I mean, I'm doing it totally different this year, and I guarantee these guys have results, and I'm more relaxed. The stress levels are there, but they're more relaxed stress levels. I do agree with this, and I didn't know it was from sleep until you tie it in. When I happened to go on a vacation, which is rare, and that's going to be rare, but sleeping I could work on. When I let my body just wake up, for like 4 days, I remember taking the girls to the beach or whatever.
Yeah.
We sleep less coffee,
right?
Less calorie consumption, and it's better calorie consumption,
right?
And the sleep is better. Less alcohol. I drink less on vacation than when I'm here,
right?
So even today, I'm probably on my 17th cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It's not even 8:30 yet.
Yeah.
And then the lull will come, the siesta time that I don't take.
Yeah.
Then you crank back up for the afternoon.
Yeah.
But it all has to do with sleep.
Yeah.
So redefining my schedule with the combine guys is actually going to help. And this, again, it's one of those things. I think I'm working them less, but sleep is a workout. Rest is a workout.
100%.
That's what I'm convincing my mind and putting that tool in
to the point where you're even talking to the agents now and saying, like, look, man, if we could spend the dollars on these recovery modalities, the cryo, the massages, and this, but really keep it. If they're not getting their sleep, it's all you're pissing it away, right?
Yes. And I am telling them that. You're right. That's a great point because we talked off camera before we went on today about that. So it's, but I even feel bad because it's going to take time, Chewy, and I need people like you in my life to really, even once in a while, think about me and go get your sleep.
Yeah.
Stay true to the game and tell your clients to get sleep.
Well,
because, Home Slice over here, Cam, is like, can you do 8? And I'm like, I can't do 8, because I had the podcast show. I go 9 o'clock or 9:30, and he goes, okay. And then I was like, yeah, but usually comes in at 6. Yeah. So I text him back. I'm like, this morning at 4:30, come in at 6. Do it 2 a day.
Yeah. It's a habit.
The kid needed sleep, but he trusts me, but I'm steering him down the wrong highway.
Right. Right. And and part of this is because I think what has happened is that we don't know as much. We know about this now because of the science, and the science is really just caught up to us now. Right. So we're talking about your increase in cancer risk. We're talking about your not and
we talked about the oxygen. We talked about the oxygen last week. Sorry, I got so excited, but again, I'm intuitively taking what you're saying and going back and going, wait a minute. Those mountain bike rides when I'm not getting my sleep, my chest hurts. I got to get off the bike ride. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And you talked about the inhibitors of oxygen coming to the muscle, and it is. What, 40%? And it feels like
you have a drop in your cardiovascular output as a result of lack of sleep. They did this. So this gentleman is out at Berkeley, right? And so if you think about the Golden State Warriors, they're right there. And I think one of his associate researchers took a look at Andre Iguodala, right, and tracked the amount of sleep and his performance. So if he got 7 hours of sleep versus 8 or 9 hours, he would track how he did on the court that night. And
you're talking, again, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're talking sound sleep. So you're not talking pass out sleep from, let's just say, some tequila and wine or whatever, right? And we're not talking about that.
That will destroy your sleep as a result.
Right. You're talking about exactly, and I want to go over what your patterns are because they're pretty savage at what you're doing, but go ahead with that.
Well, so Andre Iguodala, you could see very nicely in his book that what happens to him when he gets great sleep. So his production on the court goes up, right? So he's able to hit more free throws, get more rebounds. So all of his measures go up. His fouls go down. So he's this is analytics.
Oh, this is straight analytics.
But when his sleep goes down, his fouls go up, his production goes down. I mean, it's just then of course they're just studying the one player, but the science behind beyond just a one person anecdotal kind of evidence, when they're actually looking at multiple different studies with lots of different people, I mean, it makes a lot of sense as to why your performance, your emotions aren't in check if you're making all these fouls and all this, and also your ability to make good decisions on the court. All of it is tied into how well or how poorly you're sleeping. So even in I can speak to it on the importance on the medical side, but really it ties in to your business when you're talking about these guys, what they've got on the line. on combine day, they got to run a certain do this. If they're not getting their sleep, you're already deducting performance numbers, and I mean that translates into
30%.
It translates into dollars, right? So, and if that's the case, like your productivity, especially in the performance game, why not sleep, especially at this critical time during combine and all that. So, I mean, I think all of us too, our productivity as a non-athlete. The decisions that we make during the day, how well we execute our jobs and everything else.
Now, are you saying
that would also decrease? So it only makes sense that we really kind of, the way I've looked at it at this point in time is that I guard my sleep as if it's like cash.
Okay,
it's
let's
gold.
get into that.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you saying 7 and 9 at any time? So like you're talking about the NBA player, of course they play late games. You're just saying 9 hours. Say my boy Cam over here goes to bed at 12. Are you saying, hey, I don't want to see you till 9?
Oh, yeah.
Does it have to be like 9 to 5, or does it just 9 hours? I could go to bed at 1 a.m. and wake up at 10.
Here's an interesting thing about sleep. Okay, so there are chronotypes. Okay, so when you're a morning person, I'm a morning person. Okay, Cam might be a night owl, and there is evidence of the genetics behind that there are what we call chronotypes, time types for sleep, and you can't change that apparently. So there are people that are inherently morning people, like they were just born that way, and there are night owls that are born that way. About 30% of us are either night owls, another 30% are morning type people, and then there's a mix in between. There's kind of a mix. I'm a morning person, so it's very difficult to change that type of behavior based off of your patterns. But no matter what, if you are a night owl, it doesn't give you a pass on the day. You have to get your 7 to 9 hours. You have to get it. It might be later. You might be going to bed at like 11 o'clock. Or later, but you better be waking up at that 7 to 9 mark. And that's why there's been a big push, at least in this researcher's mind, that we should be starting school later for a number of reasons. Accidents for teenagers go down. Teenagers need more sleep. Just as you develop over time, they need more sleep. But regardless, you have to match it up with the type of person that you are, what the chronotype. I'm a morning person, so my habit is I get to bed really early. And so I'm sometimes in bed.
Have you changed this? Your patterns with all the discovery of sleep the last 6 weeks. You've been doing a lot of research.
I've most definitely refined it. Most definitely, and I don't feel bad about it. There's a little bit of like this guilt, like I'm going to bed a little bit earlier than most, and I'm like.
But you're owning sleep like a job now.
Phew, man. Like
I want to be a winner. I want to be a grinder with sleep.
I take it so seriously. Like this is money out of my pocket if I'm not sleeping. This is my health that I'm taking care of, and that's more important to me than I got so much shit to do during the day. So many things to take care of. Like if I don't get my sleep, I'm a wreck, and I'm just not fun to be around, and or less fun to be around.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's my excuse. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, but when I get that consistent pattern, it's great. I mean, there are things that I do where I've got blackout shades. Mm-hmm. I don't look at the clock in the middle of the night anymore.
Completely dark.
Completely
no TV
dark.
light.
No TV. Yeah, no TV light.
But I'm talking like I think you went to the level of no TV light. Like there's either blue or red.
No. I do the red light.
Okay.
I do the red light. So and turning
street lights because you're in a condominium.
Yeah, street lights. I mean, I have to black those things out. I mean, I'm like in a try to make my place like a cold
temperature
cave.
Yeah. Cool.
And we know that if you are. You should be sleeping around 65 to 68 degrees at night because as your body cools, that's when you start getting into a deeper sleep and sustaining your sleep.
That makes sense.
I'm trying to dial in all of those things, and trying to be very consistent with how I sleep, and I feel so much better. I eliminate the coffee in the morning. Not completely eliminating it, but I stop drinking no more than 2 cups. I'm done no later than 10 o'clock in the morning, because the half-life of caffeine is so long that it will wreck your sleep. Even though you may feel like you're sleeping well, you probably aren't. The alcohol.
I need to hear that.
The alcohol needs to stop.
That's not going to happen.
At least 4 hours before. That's. I mean, we're not monks here. But,
we talked about that, right? Like that whole 3-2-1 principle of the alcohol should be 3 hours out, food out. Because that helps. And we talked about what. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. These little guidelines. We're not all perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But like those are. I'm trying to do the best practice things because why not? I mean, it's free, and you feel better than you would getting a massage and all this. If I'm not doing, like I said, if I'm not doing the things that we had talked about, then why do I need to get all of this other frou-frou stuff that costs you money that's probably not even working?
Well, and that's what I was telling the sports agent.
Yeah,
like you could save some money if these kids are sleeping well, but if they're up at 2 a.m. playing video games, and we got a session in the morning, and things are sore on you. The massage isn't going to help. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask a question. We have some people in the office. I'm sure it's going through everybody's head. Maybe not, but it should. Can you get too much sleep?
Probably not in our society today, right now, at the moment, because
you hear that all the time, like, man, I slept too much. I feel off, man. I just slept too much.
Yeah, and the whole here's a notion. A lot of people think that they can make it up like a sleep bank. You can't.
I do know that.
I used to think that. I used to think that
make it up.
You can't make it up. So you have to be consistent. Over a long period of time. I didn't know that, but the research is pretty clear that you can't just like, well, I slept 6 hours here, and so I'll make it up with 10 hours tomorrow. And then I'll be back like the bank, and it's not really.
Doctor, we went over the testosterone levels, the injuries, the performance, the age. When you go over those 4, I looked at the notes last night. The one that really sticks out, every grinder I know, and we have tons of them in the wood gym.
Yeah,
they do not look their age. Everyone looks older.
Oh yeah.
Everyone looks older than what they should, and they're successful in all these departments. But then they're on certain meds, and they're older, and they're grumpier, and their bodies aren't moving well. But then once they get sleep and they come off of vacay, they're like, man, I dropped weight, and I didn't do anything for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did you sleep? And they're like, I slept.
Yeah. I think we just need to change our attitudes about sleep, that it is not a badge of honor to not rest and not sleep. I think really that's what a lot of it boils down to, is that I think America is a very driven country for has been before in the past, and our notions of what it means to be successful really fundamentally should include how well we're taking care of ourselves and the sleep that we're getting. I mean, it just pays out in the end. It pays out financially. People that sleep do well, have a tendency to make more money in a lot of ways.
Do you think it's going to be a huge movement? I mean, I was just thinking of this about the sleep and sleep deprivation. The Navy SEAL training where they stay up for the 72 hours.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be a movement like, how like the movement in performance training of like pitchers, Major League Baseball pitchers, they have to run 3 miles. I think that movement is moving like, why? So I think maybe they're adopting a different strategy of getting people in shape than you're an endurance pitcher, run 3 miles.
Yeah.
Do you think at any part of the military will go, wait a minute, we could still make these guys tough and see what they got, but let's get our sleep? Do you ever think that'll enter into the armed forces?
I don't know. I mean, I've never been in the armed forces, so I can't really tell you what the culture is over there. But I think, I can speak for the medical world, okay? And I think when you have a culture that's been there for a long time, like the medical field, those changes are very, 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 very slow. So even, you would be surprised by that. You would say, well, you guys are worried about health and wellness, but like we still, in the medical field, there was a gentleman, his name was Halstead, All right, so he's at Johns Hopkins, and the reason why we have residency programs that would make doctors work 110, 120 hours a week was because Halstead was this surgeon that was known to work those hours, like these crazy long hours. Here's the dirty secret about Halstead, and because of him, because of his influence, it changed the medical field on how we train our doctors throughout the entire country. He was the reason why we work those hours. Here's the dirty secret about him. I didn't realize it until I looked at this book. He was a cocaine addict.
Holy shit.
He was a cocaine addict. I mean, full-blown cocaine addict, and that's why he could stay up so long. But he went freaking crazy in the end.
Yeah, because
in
the medical field, the residency isn't that like, oh, we haven't had a break in 3 days, 2 days.
Yeah, and so we based our medical training on a guy who has a full-blown uppers addict, and we thought that that's the way that you train people, and he went crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
Is that guy still living?
Oh no, this was he died. I mean, this was like 100 years ago.
Did he overdose on cocaine?
No, he had to be treated. He had to be treated for his cocaine addiction. He was
Jesus.
He was.
So
like,
he was churning and burning. So yeah,
and doing cocaine. So, but that's so really in the end he was on a performance enhancing or dehancing drug in order for him to work those hours, and we think that's the way we do things now. They've shifted how they train residents now. So it's 80-hour work weeks are the max. But if you were to look at the science, at least the arguments that Walker is making, that it's still quite not enough sleep, and you will make worse decisions on the health and lives of your patients. And they have actually tracked that you're more likely to make all of these mistakes and errors on patient care and everything like that. So to go back to your question on will this be a movement, I think the research is relatively new. We need these champions like the Matthew Walkers of the world to continue to talk about the research and what it does to our society and individuals and all that.
And what's the name of his book?
Why We Sleep.
Why We Sleep, Matthew Walker.
Yeah. Actually, Bill Gates recommended it as one of his top books of last year. It's a great book, so I recommend it to anyone that wants to nerd out on it. Or just listen to his podcast. But in the end, to answer your question, I think the changes will be really, really slow. At least in the medical field, it has been. At least they're recognizing it a little bit. In the military, I don't know about the military. I can't even tell you about the military because I've never served. But I think all of these changes, they take a long time for that type of information to come.
But this isn't a fad. This isn't like
no. This is
creatine or something like that. Where it's like this is here to stay.
This is something that's etched into the fabric of our being that we're not doing. So I mean, this is
us being human. A secret antidote that nobody knows, and you said one great word: it's free.
It's free. Yeah, exactly. And we just need to create the conditions in our homes so that we can maximize this free thing that will make you smarter, more emotionally stable, that will make you smarter, that will make you live longer. And like Matthew Walker, I think he made a very strong argument on the foundations of your wellness, not even saying that this is a pillar. It's the foundation that the others stand on. I think everybody needs to really think about it in stronger terms.
Do you think we covered enough today?
I think we did.
I mean, I think I would love to do a part 2 on it. I mean, we could keep going, but I know you got to go somewhere. But you're still like, what time did you go to bed last night?
We went to bed around 9:15, 9:30, a little bit later than I normally do.
And then woke up?
Woke up about 4:45.
And are you popping up or alarm, hitting snooze?
It depends on what the kids are doing.
Do you think you get into those, like you said, starting to read like, hey, I'm getting better? Like with the athletes, like how many times did you hit snooze? Man, I didn't had 3 times, and by 2 weeks, none.
Yeah.
Do you think that's one of a good protocol, a means or measures?
I think his recommendation is that if you don't need an alarm clock to wake up, and you feel like you're awake and rested, that means you're getting enough sleep. But if you are dragging yourself out of bed and you've had to hit the snooze, you have too much sleep pressure within you and you're not getting enough.
I mean, honestly, I have to I start setting it at like 3:52, 4:12. I mean, because I struggle every day to get out of bed. I do it, but I struggle every day.
We need to, maybe the next time we'll look at the basic recommendations of what we need to do in order to get to sleep and feel rested.
My phone's next to the bed. It lights up. It rings. I fall asleep with the TV on.
Yeah.
I mean, all those things are things that we could probably cover in part 2 of, setting a strategy, because I could do it with everything else. Here's your proper nutrition plan.
Yeah.
Here's your proper workout. I could, but with the sleep thing, since I've never owned sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is for the lazy. With the CEOs I had years ago, when they trained at 4:45, 3 days a week, it was always like, oh, sleeping in. And, if the one person didn't make it, he slept. It was always, like you said, a badge of honor of, oh, no, I was the first one here. I didn't get any sleep. But, I was up. And instead of going, I slept in, I felt like I needed more sleep. That's not a sign of weakness or not getting after it. It's actually reversed.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we all go to sleep. I think it's napping time in the wood gym.
Yeah.
At 9:00 session, I'm going to put out it's going to be like preschool at nap time to, get pillows and
old mats.
We could go over that because, Harrison Smith is an endorser for Sleep. Was it Sleep Number or Sleep Bed? One of those.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah, one of those beds. He has commercials out where you sleep and how important. And to be honest, and I know I'm always on the Harry train, which, he's like a son to me. I love him to death, but he does a lot of things right, and I had a Michigan wide receiver in this weekend training with me, and he was like, what separates Harrison from a lot of the guys? I said, one, he's always thinking about getting better in the off season, so he'll text me right after the season. But he values his sleep and rest. So there'll be days where he's scheduled to come in, and he's like, I'm not coming in, I'm going to rest. And it's like 2 p.m., and if it was anybody else, I'd be like, you lazy son of a bitch. But you're like, he rests. His body looks the best. He's always playing. He's always healthy. He always performs. So there's got to be a secret to it.
Hey, and when we've just started here, my man Freddie Smith, Fruity Freddie.
Fruity Freddy is his new nickname with those shoes, those sneakers. Holy rainbows.
But he came in with his sleep app that tracked his sleep, how much he was resting, his resting heart rate. I mean, Fred's savage too when it comes to stuff like that too. So, I mean, I think,
if he could bite into it, I think anybody can, because, I mean, he's one of those cats. When he walks in here in the morning, he does not look well rested at all.
As part of his job. But, he understands the importance of it.
He understands. And curtailing these, like you said, these outliers is going to be a challenge. But, like, Freddie will dive into anything to get him to be the best of their best or to stay on top of being the best, because he is the best at what he does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. All right, man, this has been awesome. I am ready to sleep.
I'm exhausted.
I can't do it. I got 20 more hours. Let's go, Geronimo. Chewy, thanks so much. Dr. James Choo's in the house. Make sure you tune in on our YouTube to take a look at him, because the guy's a savage. I mean, if there's one guy that's been consistent with me all these years, it's Dr. James Choo. Thank you so much for doing this, and you are amazing.
Well, love it, man. Let's keep on doing it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you.
See ya.